was out here with my buddy Pochis from Chicago, Illinois, and we were able to talk about a variety of topics ranging all the way from election 2016 to women's rights and such things as that. I hope you guys enjoy because this is actually my first video shoot, so we're actually very excited about this. For all you guys out there who haven't listened to my podcast, give it a listen to on SoundCloud at Generation Rising. Follow me at RiseXGeneration on Twitter and Generation Rising on Instagram. Hello, this is Dion here with Generation Rising. I had a person cancel on me today, so me and my buddy Migue, we drove all the way out to Chicago, Illinois to talk to a good friend of ours, Pochis. And it's just a conversation, obviously, between two intelligent people. So, let's get to it. All right, Pochis. Well, tell everybody about yourself. Tell everybody hi and obviously about yourself and all that.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Cynthia Ninzer, a.k.a. Pochis. I'd prefer if you call me Pochis. I'm currently an outreach worker, and I am a previous medical assistant. I'm currently going to school for public health.
Right on. All right, well, can you tell me, like, what life is like in Chicago for you?
Life in Chicago at the moment, well, work has opened my eyes to the neighborhood around me. It's very diverse. My neighborhood is actually currently being gentrified.
Can you tell people what that is?
Gentrification is simply an upper class coming in, usually white culture, coming in and what almost seems like first adopting and then creating their own culture while also displacing the culture that was there. I don't know if you want to clarify that or...
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'll talk about it a little bit. I mean, what you said is exactly correct. I mean, we've seen this with a lot of projects being taken down here within the past years, along with, I actually think Echo Gardens is still standing, but Jeffrey Manors and certain things like that. And what you have is where property values are going down. Cities, they look at these things and are like, oh, well, you know, what we have is a whole bunch of minorities causing so much commotion, which is completely up for debate. I don't really know the answer on that. I'm not going to comment on that. But then what you have is you have a knocking down, you have a rebuilding. And what you technically have is a bunch of history that's already been put into these places. And now you have a whole bunch of people that are coming in and being like, well, the property value is too high, I can't afford it, so now we have to move it to other places. Now, a lot of people believe that that's exactly what is happening and why the violence is so crazy in Chicago right now, is you have a lot of families and people being pushed into areas that they didn't live before, rubbing the wrong toes, stepping on the wrong feet, and things of that nature. Would you agree to that? Or no? I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
To a certain extent, I agree.
Okay. So, okay, can you tell me anything along the lines of, like, maybe have you or anybody you love been in contact with violence? How has it affected their life? Do you really believe that the police are out here trying to protect you? And what are your thoughts on things like that?
Growing up in Chicago, I mean, things are very different right now. You still see violence. It's definitely in more concentrated areas now. But growing up in Chicago, I witnessed violence every other weekend. How it's affected me, I would say a little desensitized. I think a lot of us growing up in the hood had a sense of curiosity when it came to death at a very early age. A lot of my friends were exposed to violence and therefore thought it was normal, and then created a culture of being very defensive, protecting the neighborhood because nobody else was going to. Police seem to value their own life over the people that called to be protected. So growing up, for example, I mean, the cops almost seem to wait for the drama or everything to de-escalate and then do some type of recon so they could, I don't know, come into our homes and, I don't know, have something to gossip about at the station, it seemed like almost.
That kind of brings up a really funny notion because, I mean, we can kind of talk about like a varying topic of things, but I know, like, close to me in my heart, Gary police officers, which only get paid like between $13 to $14 an hour. Now, I mean, whether you believe that's a thing that you should risk your life for or whatever, but you are sworn in to protect. And there's been a lot of situations where, I mean, I've witnessed myself a whole shooting at a gas station, knowing full well that 2 police squad cars were on site at the time, and they literally waited to get out of their car and do a whole observation of the premise after the shooting was done. Now, I think that's absolutely wrong and absolutely crazy. I mean, to think that we have such a coward of a police force. I'm not saying all police are cowards, obviously, but that's just weird. And like you were saying before, you know, whether you'd wait and, you know, they'd come in and they fuck with you. Yeah, I bet you see that obviously a lot. And there's major promises. I mean, I know, like, obviously within the news headlines and everybody talking about it, you know, there's always people talking about things who they never really have any firsthand experience. So I'm glad I get to talk to you, a person with firsthand experience. Because, I mean, you know, Rahm Emanuel, the mayor of Chicago, has become under hell of fire. I know Jerry McCarthy, the head of the Chicago police force, you know, had to step down because of this whole crazy, chaotic situation. And you have certain people who are running for office right now who are actually calling for there to be more police presence on the ground because they believe that police presence would fix the problem. Now, in my opinion, I don't believe that police presence would fix the problem, but I want to know how you think about that. Do you think more police on every corner in Chicago is going to curb violence, or what do you think that's going to do?
I mean, honestly, how the state or how everyone looks at police right now, actually, police make me very nervous. And to me, a police officer on a normal day is a security guard at a mall. I can go up to him, talk to him. You know, he's usually very, you know, charismatic, you know. They're usually protecting their own face, too. But I don't think I can depend on them for much, you know. I don't, you know.
I know. All right, well, can you tell me about some of your work? Let's kind of change the aspect of the conversation right now. Can you tell me about some of your work in the nonprofit and charity work that you're involved in?
Correct. Oh, I thought you were asking me. Well, I do work at a community resource center, community-based organization. We mostly work with universities. They are sponsors, such as Northwestern, Norwegian. From there, we are promoting a more physically active life. Worker who works for the community-based organization. I check blood pressures and blood sugar, all for free. Community Center Against Diabetes. I have learned quite a bit. It's a very passionate group that I work for. There's 2 coordinators, and there's a coordinator for the clinic side and for the physical activity side. Both were born and raised in Chicago, both women, empowered women. One's working on their master's, one already has a master's. Always pushing for more Latina women to be present in the community workforce. Do
you feel that that women's views are valued in the world, or how do you feel about that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, like I said, women are going to be very, very strong. They're going to have very strong views about their children's education. I just learned about Brazil and their feminist movement and how, I mean, like, they're pushing education ultimately led for the president during the 1930s to, like, lower the voting age and really push for education. The level of illiteracy in Brazil at that time, I mean, like, plummeted because of the push for women, and, you know, like, they're awesome.
One thing that really frustrates me about this whole women thing is, you know, our government is obviously a constitutional republic, and for some reason, I mean, you see a vast amount of difference, especially in the state and federal legislatures, where there's only like 4 women or like 5 women, but knowing damn well that there's at least one woman to 1 man, at least. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I would be in favor of definitely pushing for a more of an equal women voice in politics, because, in all honesty, there might be a very few, like certain ones, obviously, like Hillary Clinton, who's running for president, Elizabeth Warren, who's a senator from Massachusetts, Carly Fiorina, certain other women like that, but there's not really that whole ground, like, floor of a women voice in politics. I feel, especially in Elizabeth Warren's old book, when she wrote an autobiography about becoming a senator, that her voice was always kind of subsided, and she literally had to kind of scream to get her voice to be noticed because she was always in a room full of men. Now, I don't know how you feel about that or how you look at that, but I really do feel that that's a true view on actually American politics as it is right now.
Women being part of a very big marginalized group will always suffer the same consequences as, you know, everyone else who's marginalized. And it is unfortunate that the poor, women, people of color always have to scream, and it's always in an underground culture that often gets turned corporate later on. So it almost gets
Can you
silenced.
elaborate on that? Do you know any like specific examples on that? 'Cause I really don't know what you mean by that. I'm not trying to.
I mean, we can go with Frida Kahlo.
Okay, yes, let's see what that.
I mean, her simplistic life is not, I wouldn't call it a very strong female influence, but it has become one. And I think there's, you know, several aspects of her that we could learn from, and I'm glad that she really pushed Mexican culture and artwork and such, but instead of it being so sold, I think it's more education on the actual feminists behind her should be invested in, not just her public figure.
Oh, right on. Okay, absolutely. Well, what are your views on election 2016? I mean, this has been kind of one of the main focuses of my podcast since I've only started about 3 months ago. And I mean, everybody's opinions is very, you know, either one-sided or blanketed or whatever like that. And I just want to get your views on the whole election for 2016, if you have any.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, where to start? I can't.
Who would you vote for? Are you gonna vote or?
I mean, yeah, definitely register to vote. I'm gonna lean towards Hillary. I'm definitely gonna vote for Hillary simply because I don't want Donald Trump's vice president to ever even touch anything about women's rights.
Me too.
Ever.
Can agree
So,
with that. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I heard if Donald Trump really were to take presidency, it would be all about the vice president. I don't even think Donald Trump has any opinion on anything, really.
Yeah, he's a coward that obviously, you know, hides in sheep's clothing, and I feel bad because there's actually this this huge undergarment of women supporters who support Trump, and knowing that he's well anti-women on many things. I mean, he's came out of the closet, you know, talking about abusing them. He's weird with his daughter. I mean, everything about this dude is obviously creepy and very insincere when it comes to American politics, and definitely when it comes to dealing with people. And you know, I'm not 100% Hillary Clinton supporter, though I will vote for her. I've already said this on this podcast. But I have a daughter, and obviously she means the world to me. And I really wish that the poster child for a woman presidency wouldn't be Hillary Clinton. Do I feel like it's very important that I can point to her and be like, well, look at, you know, you can do anything you want to. You can be the president of the United States. I really wish it would have been more of a progressive person and an honest person. I really wish she wouldn't be that poster child for that, and I'm just going to say that. But I will be glad that if she did that, just for breaking that barrier, obviously. I mean, just for the main fact of going from a black president who we never thought of could have made presidency to a woman president who we would have never thought would have even had a chance. So just the mere fact that is able to happen, that makes me happy inside. Makes me feel warm and fuzzy. All right, so, you know, let's go into lighter things. You know, what's your music taste? Tell me about yourself, because I mean, this is a whole outskirt podcast. You know, we do focus on a lot of metal and punk aspects and influences, whether it's on our lives in politics or in social issues and whatever like that. So give me the rundown of how you feel about stuff like that.
All right. I definitely have been always active in the punk scene here in Chicago, mostly just attending shows. Always showed support. I mean, in high school, I would probably go like 5 days a week to shows. The organization here, I mean, I was going to shows 5 days a week, so there's always been activism in the punk scene. A lot of DIY venues that I'm glad a lot are still open. If not functioning like venues, they're still functioning like centers for information. I actually just attended the Desafinados art show, which Martin Sarandunga, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Martin Crudo, excuse me, put together along with Gordo from Sin Orden and several other people, several very influential and amazing people. Brought awareness to the area. You probably already know because, you know, the punk band's pretty loud.
Absolutely. But
Martin's stance is, I'm gay and I'm punk, and what are you gonna do about it? Probably nothing, because he's, you know, stands so firm for both communities. I think a very important part in one of the interviews that I read was that he speaks at universities because a lot of universities like to study punk.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the culture. He says that a lot of people that study it aren't familiar with it firsthand, so it's very important. People like you, people like Martin, to expose a lot of this.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel it's very vibrant for any community. You know how progressive his ideals are. We have, like I said before, with this election, is we have two very divisive sides, and we have a lot of people who, like, for whatever reason, they just refuse to see the other side, no matter how logical or rational it can be expressed in words. And I feel in any productive and pragmatic society that chooses to value its logical and rationalness, to have feelings, you know, kind of expressed through art, literature, and music. And Chicago has definitely always valued that to me as a growing up teenager, and trying to understand, man, you know, there's that place that you can go and just everything's going to be chill, everything's going to be cool, you can express yourself openly, freely. And I've always felt that was very, very awesome. Now, I know for sure that it hasn't been really treated fairly at the upper levels, and I know it's always been kind of looked down on as like a whole, you know, group and gathering of a bunch of little criminals who don't think of anything, and they're anti this, and they're bad for this, and they're bad for business and all that. And it's just, I've always felt that, I mean, anybody who ever comes up with an argument like that obviously fails to see the good in it, maybe because they're too lazy, or maybe because they're too stupid. Now, I don't know. But yeah, like I said, I just wanted to kind of elaborate on that. And I'm glad for people out there who, you know, bands like Sonoridine, La Armada, and to keep this whole Latin punk scene going, because I mean, I have fun with it. I love it. I absolutely love it. You know, every single thing about it, and it's a good thing. I think every community should have the same exact thing, and I think it should grow stronger and more progressive over time. And I'm very glad to be part of that. I'm very glad you support it 100%. I know you are. I know you do. So that's a great thing. And so, how do you feel? This is a deep question now, and just go how you feel about it. But what's your views on the world? You know, just give me your little rundown of the views. Let people know how you feel about things, whatever it is. I don't know. I know it's an open-ended question and it's pretty hard to answer, but however you choose to answer it, you know, it's up to you. Yeah. All right.
Let's see. I definitely think that the middle working class, definitely a lot who are immigrants, need to stand and educate the lower class. I think every historical, radical, revolutionary motion or anything in history has always been done when it's the middle working class, educated, and the poor together. Trump really scared me when he tried to get, you know, this like whole, you know, support from the middle class saying, I'll give you money to start your business. And, you know, him being a businessman, he pushes it, but he's definitely for the upper class. Absolutely. Interest of the upper class. And I think people of color, educated, powerful, influential, need to take it back into their own people. I don't know. I feel like there's, you know, so I think it's very important to never lose culture, and therefore remember where you came from, help those less fortunate than you, and, you know.
How do you feel about like Latins being demonized by other, for example, prominent white people in government?
Nothing new.
Nothing new?
Nothing
I mean,
new.
how do you feel about it, like, personally, though? Does it offend you?
Nah, I mean, man, I can't speak for everyone. I speak for myself. It's comical to me. Very ignorant. I take it with a grain of salt. If you're not trying to hurt me physically, then you can talk all you want.
Right on.
Because, I mean, you have the liberty to do so. I'm not always conscious. I'm not always all embarking with what I say. I may discriminate against something, and but the difference is that I'm working to eliminate that, and there's people who aren't.
Yeah.
And you just gotta step away from those people.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It seems like it seems like well, for example, with the whole Trump movement, is he gave this voice to this underbelly that we actually thought was dying out in this country.
Exactly.
And it seems like they're really like big and like they love it. They fucking love it. They love the fact of what he says. They love it, and it doesn't. There's nothing that you can say to turn them off. And they will spout the highest levels of ignorance ever, all the time. Like, one of his main standpoints and how he became so prominent in the political field was him building the wall on the Mexican border and the Canadian border, which absolutely makes no sense, judged by the fact that there's water and a lot of shit, but we cannot even go into that. And I mean, just a simple look in common and factual statistics will show you that there is less Mexicans coming in this country than there are fucking leaving. So it's just like, you know, but people, they don't buy it. Like, you could show them statistic after statistic after statistic, and then you'd be like, well, okay, well, you know, who's gonna, you know, fucking do all the shitty jobs? Or is white Americans gonna do fucking $7.25 an hour jobs picking fucking vegetables and corn and shit? Probably fucking not. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, yeah, you know, am I in favor of border security? Absolutely, to protect the country. I don't believe that there should be open borders in certain situations, because I do believe, I don't know how you feel about that, but I do believe that there needs to be some border security. Absolutely. I mean, you know, drugs, guns, I mean, we have everything always going on, and if you want to protect national interests, you should watch your borders. But to be ignorant about a situation and to just not realize common factual statistics, and to demonize not just one people but a whole people, is completely irrational and logical. You know, you got any comment on that?
The saying, when you talk bad about someone, you make yourself look bad. I mean, there's working people, working undocumented folk or undocumented Latinos, proving him wrong every day. Every day, every second.
Great people too, man.
Yeah.
Of literature, art, science. I mean, to just sit up here and just demonize people and just act like they're nothing. I mean, you know, you have like scientists, you have senators, you have fucking, you know, whole vibrant land community in this nation, and it's hard for people to grasp a hold of, because any people that are in a position of power obviously never want to lose it. That's what we see with the corporations. That's what we're seeing with old white America, where they see this growing disaster growing and brewing at their feet. They don't want to acknowledge it, and they're going to do whatever it takes to try to hold on to that piece of power. I guess that's a little bit in human nature. I mean, you know, we could argue that, but
right.
I believe that's in human nature, to try to hold on to what little power that you have left, knowing that at the end of the day, you're probably most likely going to lose that. But here's the dangerous thing about that is civil wars have been fought over these kind of notions, where you can see an impending doom, and instead of choosing to acknowledge the existence of slaves and the rights of slaves, you choose to hold back against it and try to fight against the grains of time. You see that with the gay communities right now, where they're trying to fight for their rights, and other people are like, well, you know, they ain't gonna fight for your rights, and I'm gonna, like, you have literally a Kentucky governor who got up and spoke at the CPAC convention and was like, literally like, we're just might have to, you know, the blood of our children are going to be on the hands of everybody, and just like calling for direct violence versus marginalized societies. And I feel like that's a huge thing, because I know that there's people listening to that take that very seriously, and that actually would truly want that to happen. So, okay, so I mean, a lot about the show is obviously talking to a wide variety of people, and the goal is to just get the conversation started about things that they could vastly affect. Can me and you have a direct, you know, impact on which way the world goes on global warming and climate change? No, probably not. You know what I mean? Can we, you know, take down Wall Street with just me and you, Pochis? No, probably not. But the goal is to try to start a fiery conversation between people, to get people involved in it, just at base, the level of civic duties that we all have as American citizens. Because I've talked about this many times, but the position that we're in all honesty, we do have nobody to blame but ourselves. Because we chose to ignore our problems, we chose to just eat our McDoubles, we chose to just watch our Kim Kardashians, whatever the hell you call it, and chose to kind of shy away from things that were important. And when people who were more important, who felt that it was very important to be in that game, they were in that game while we weren't. So do you have like any kind of things that you feel that you could do to better society? I mean, whatever small way is possible, and there's obviously no judgment being passed here, but I just want to know what maybe you could do, or what maybe you could tell other people in your situation that you could try to do to change the world, you know, as crazy and stupid as that may sound.
You know, I mean, working for this nonprofit organization, I feel pretty, it's part of a bigger thing, right? It's part of a whole research product, you know, and I don't know, direct contact with people and seeing how their basic needs aren't being met. Sometimes it's, you know, they come to you like, I can't pay my bills. How, like, one of the questions in the screens when I'm taking our participants' blood pressure is, how often do you eat fruits and vegetables? And a lot of them are like, well, whenever I can afford them, whenever I can get them for free through the food pantry, or, you know, just anything like that. And it's making people like, you know, like healthy, and first and foremost, like internally, mentally. I work with a lot of people in Humboldt Park, and a lot of people in Humboldt Park, a lot of the businesses employ their own and a lot of Puerto Ricans, a lot of Mexicans are working in that neighborhood. And they're just trying to funnel, like ask and write to the, like our aldermen, and they're always asking for resources for our communities: Humboldt Park, Logan Square, Hermosa, the west side of Chicago, the immediate, Latino west side. And I feel like being punk, working and learning about politicians and politics and stuff like that, it almost was scary, because growing up in the punk scene, you're just like, oh, those people are traitors. But that's not always true.
No.
So it's like,
you grow up, yeah.
So like you realize that is definitely a very like faster maybe way of getting resources to your community. And it works because it's a system that's been in place for a very long time.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, like education, like getting out there, knowing the people that are going to get you help. Like as soon as you're passionate about something, go out there, find somebody that's going to help you.
Yeah, I think the ways are endless, and to try to help either your community out, your family out. I mean, if you could just start with something small, as helping like your family or community that you live with out, I think that's necessary. And I think you hit on a very very vital point into which I actually have never covered. I don't know why, but the mere fact of just at being base healthy, vegetables and fruits. Like, I mean, I don't even know the real true statistics on it, but I mean, we process our bodies, and so much processed food is ridiculous. We don't eat real food. And to have a strong like people, obviously you need to eat good food. You know what I mean? So by the mere fact of us just ignoring our basic health, I think it's troubling. And I believe that everything you say, I really truly believe that the majority of those people that come and see you are really trying to like, hey man, I want to change my life. You know what I mean? And maybe they might not have all the oomph behind it to make the difference, but I mean, you can't fault them for trying. You know what I mean? Like, it changes your life to know that you have a child, and that you want to see that child better and healthy and strong and fruitful and grow up and have a great society to grow up in and learn and spread the love and spread all that stuff. And I really truly feel bad, because a lot of those people, they're demonized, that they're grouped into this whole faction of like, there's certain people that view it like, oh well, they're just leechers off the system and they just don't care, and they like to live in their filth. And it's just like, the majority of those people, have they ever spent a time in a person like your shoes? Absolutely not. You know what I mean? And it's just, it really frustrates me, because I mean, we talk about all the time politics where we need to gut food stamps, and we need to gut Social Security, but we need to have more war, and we need to drop more bombs and stuff like that.
In where I work, in Humboldt Park, there is a total of 3 hospitals, and there's sirens constantly going. And there was an article about Humboldt Park saying how active it was with police when it was ambulances, not really police. Yeah. And it was kind of like, quick to the assumption that it's just violent, and it constantly needs attention. Ooh, another thing is that, unfortunately, it's our own people talking bad about our neighborhood. For example, Mahoney Beach in Humboldt Park, it's a beautiful man-made beach. I mean, like, it's cleaned every year, it has filters, and it's, like, very taken care of. But the people in Humboldt Park that grew up there, like, raised their children there, wouldn't dare step foot in there because of all the crap they talk about it. Like, we created it ourselves, like, absolutely. And it's not true. I went there over the summer, actually, like my sisters used to take me there, and I've heard things like, oh, don't go in there, you'll find a dead body, you'll find needles, don't step on a needle. And it's not true, like, no, it's probably not true. Our Latinos and the women's, what do you call those? The made up stories so your kids don't do something bad.
Oh, myths and
whatever.
Stuff like that, yeah, we can all, yes, we all know that. And it's very funny, like, how you say that. It seems like the majority of our own worst enemies are always ourselves. But like I said, I mean, I really truly feel that if you're an educated person and you want better, the least amount of time that you spend talking shit about another person, I think is better. I think it's the best way. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just like, it's cool, to fucking brag on people sometimes, but I mean, at least do it when they're around or something. I mean, I get it, but to spend your whole time of, like, shooting your community down, because I do see this a lot, and actually you made me think of something else, is like, you see some of these communities in all these different cities, whether it be LA, San Francisco, New York City, Chicago, Illinois, a lot of them, they do. They try to invest in the community. They try to build better parks. They try to actually invest in some of their schools. And you still have some of these people who are still like, oh, you know, fuck that. It's like, well, okay, you know, I want more. And it's like politics for some reason, and I even though it's wrong, but it doesn't work in our real time. We're so fast in things, like whether it be internet, whether it be fast food. We want things now. We want things right now. We're not willing to wait for the progress. How many people do you know who are stupid as hell and have a garden? I really don't know any. But the people who actually care about what they eat, the people who are actually interested in taking care of like certain seeds and sowing them and making sure they reach their full growth and make sure they have good, healthy food to eat, are the people who look at life in a real term view and be like, man, you know, fuck, life takes time. The good things come, but not at your time. They come to those who wait. I think that's a saying that I just stole from somebody, but it's real. It's a true thing. Cool. So I mean, it's just you know, things like that. I mean, yeah, man, don't shoot your community down. Yeah. If you see something, I mean, dude, fuck snitching and shit. Yeah. But try to be a leader, an emotional and progressive leader, and demonstrate that with not your ability to rely on the government, but the ability to rely on oneself. I truly, truly believe that a good family, one solid good family that does everything it can to make sure it maintains no flaws, will benefit a community 10 times fold than more police on the street. To see more guns in your neighborhood that risk more of a threat to you and your family is not a solution to a problem. It's only adding as a band-aid to already a bleeding wound. Would you agree to that?
Absolutely.
Got you ordering me what to do. All right. So Pochis, this was a fucking fantastic conversation I've had with you. This has been a great time out here, obviously, and got to see another person's worldview, which is the highlight of my day. So, do you have any closing things that you would like to talk about?
I'd just like to say I want all my Latino youth to get out there, get empowered, get educated, find something you're passionate about, find something that your community needs, and there's someone that's going to be out there to help you to get that. Don't lose your passion. Don't lose your vision.
All right, let's revolutionize with the punk scene, man. So, I mean, if any of you out there that have some music that you'd like to get out there, obviously hit me up at Generation Rising Social Movement at gmail.com. Let's get the party started, man. Let's make sure the movement stays going strong, and let's make sure we were talking during the break, which is a really good thing. But let's never be afraid to call out of our own flaws, because that's what makes a community great, is if you can acknowledge your flaws and learn to move from them. You were talking to me how you viewed at one time how fatalistic, which used in your terms was a fucking fantastic word, actually, but how fatalistic the punk movement was and what you did to counteract that.
Well, graduating right out of high school, I said, to be very honest, I said, you know, like, fuck working for corporations, you know, like, fuck universities. There's us and there's them. And I saw that to be very fatalistic because I wasn't going to progress in life. That reality was something that was unattainable. I started experiencing that people have needs that come from funds, let's say money. It's a resource, and we need to get it in order to progress with our own vision. Because if not, we're never going to be we're going to be spoken for by someone else.
Well, Pochis, you said it best, and it's never good to live in a not real way, which is a terrible way of putting it, but it's never good to not live within the truth, you know what I mean? To realize the truth of your situation. It's okay to be skeptical of things, it's okay to question things always, but understand that, you know, your feet are always on the ground. You know what I mean? So Pochis, this is a very, very good time. Glad to have you on. Hope to have you on in the future podcast, alright?
Thank you.
Want to tell everybody good night?
Good night, everyone.